Michael?
Mighty Mike Quinn, how are you, pal?
Could be better. I'm a little banged up.
Yeah, well, you know.
I just got back into it a week ago, and I'm in pain.
Well, listen, you know, I'm happy to have you on the Dr. Michael Dusa Iron Hour. You and I talked about 7-8 months ago. We had a great. You were one of my first interviews for the new endeavor, and I wrote that one out. Now we've progressed a little where we're actually on YouTube and we got a bigger page and all that. And I really want to thank you. I thank you for your time, Mike, because part of the mission is to disrupt an industry which is in dire need of disruption, which I know you're aware of, and we're more for the classic look that you embodied years ago and even today. So I just want to thank you. How's your new year going so far, my friend?
It's good. Like I said, I just started training again. I'm physically banged up. I had injections on my back. My back pain is gone, but I had both my hips have torn labrums. Not at the insertions, but in the middle of the belly, so I need some injections there. I'm putting off surgery until all my projects are done.
Okay.
I start shooting a trailer for a documentary in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a few minutes, Mike. Let's start with a lot of people know who you are. Obviously, a lot of the newer people may not know your complete history, but obviously you started in bodybuilding up in Massachusetts. Just start us off like how you got interested. When you were a kid, how you first. I know your father helped you out a lot. Just start us off with that and how you started.
Well, I lifted weights for playing football. I was a very good football player. Probably could have been a pro, but I went to school in Canada, and it was a nightmare because the coach wouldn't let me play, and I was the strongest kid on the team, and I was one of the hardest hitting tacklers. But it was the same old politics, just like in bodybuilding. We're going to use you next year, and I was like, no, you're not. I'm not coming back. So, I think it did me a favor, Mike.
Yeah.
I came home, started powerlifting again, and kind of crazy. I was supposed to go on a powerlifting meet, and one day I had to squat 550 for 5, and I didn't get the last rep, and I just got so pissed. I said, you know what, I'm going to stop bodybuilding. And then 6 weeks later, I went to bodybuilding show in Mr. Bay State, which was December 1980, and I won as a teenager and won. And then, in May, I competed in the teenagers in Massachusetts. In the Open, I won the teenage class in overall, and the Open they gave me third. So.
Hey, Mike, didn't your father play a big role in your training when you were young?
I'm just getting to that. Well, my dad started training me right after that, and he just killed me. I mean, he had simple philosophy. You want to be the best, you train harder than the rest. I mean, it's kind of corny, but it's the truth. I mean, in every other sport, bodybuilding is the only sport I know that you can train so much harder than everybody and get beaten by somebody that couldn't even train with you in the gym, which to me is kind of ridiculous. But, I've been dealing with political crap my whole career, and, they're not going to like the documentary, I can tell you that, Mike.
Well, Mike, before we get to that, tell me that story. You were in the middle of, you were either benching or squatting, and you couldn't finish the set, and you got so mad. You remember telling me about that?
Yeah, that was the same thing. I was squatting 550 for 5. I got 4, and I just got so pissed. I can remember the day in the squat rack and just not getting it and going, you know what? Enough of this. I'm going to stop bodybuilding. And my dad started training me.
Well, Mike, you're known in history as one of the most intense trainers ever, probably top 10 in history. I don't know how you could measure that, but you're known.
They just ranked me in the top 4 on the set.
Did they?
Tom Platz, Eddie Robinson, and John DePendis.
Oh no! Who was that? Flex magazine or?
Geez, you know what? I don't know. I read so much I can't remember.
Well, it's the truth either way. But Mike, when you won the Teenage America in '81, That was my first year that I tried, and I came in last. I saw you. You're 2 years. You're born in '61. I'm born in '63. And I saw you, and I says, man, you know, when you see someone like you right at the very beginning, you know, that kind of makes you almost think you want to quit. But of course I didn't. That's how big and good. I mean, you were a man among boys. I mean, you know, the arms and everything. And in fact, didn't you go in the nationals right after that? You were still a teenager or 20 years old?
Yeah. Yeah, Australia won the class, and I took 10th out of, like, I want to say 50, 60 competitors.
And you were only 20, 19 years old?
Yeah. That was, yeah, you know, it's just...
Hey, Mike, was there anybody, I mean, you were up here in the Northeast where I am. I know you're in Florida now, but did anybody like Bob Gruskin or anybody help you? Were you involved with those guys? Or
Well, yes. Bob helped me in the beginning. My dad training and my Bob told, you know, educating me on drugs and extremely low dosages and was extremely successful.
Right.
So it was kind of, my dad just brought the intensity out of me I didn't know was there.
Right.
You know, really. I mean, that was a huge test for me with how much I could handle in the gym. And you don't know how far you go intensity-wise until somebody pushes you.
Yeah.
And my dad just knew I was going to eventually be a pro. Dad had been training for 50, 60 years now.
Wow.
You know, and he never seen anybody like me, and he knew.
Hey, Mike, you know why that's good to hear? You know, too many times you hear that parents don't encourage their kids, and you know, I was just talking to Bill Grant. I just had him on the show, and you know Bill, of course, and Bill's father. And, you know, Bill's great. Bill's fantastic. It was a great interview. But Bill, I didn't know. Most people don't know. His father was a world ranked number 3 in the world light heavyweight boxer. And even though his mother was against bodybuilding, but his father pushed him. His father saw what your father saw in you. He saw that, you know, he had that thing where he could go all the way. So it was good that your father pushed you like that. You know, I mean, you would agree, right?
Oh my God, you're kidding me? He taught me what I needed to do for the rest of my life as far as how high intensity I needed to train.
Right.
And, you know, once you brought me to that level, it was there. You know, it's just, you know, I would compete with myself. I never competed against guys in the gym or training because honestly, in my head, I've never seen anybody train harder than me. More with more poundages for failure. I mean, you know, I respect Dorian and Ronnie, but I was hardcore way before those guys were. I never got any, credit for that.
Right.
You know, all they wanted to say is I was a bad boy at bodybuilding. I was crazy. Well, I'm not that crazy, and I really have a lot of common sense.
Well, you know, Mike, I just talked to David Dirth, the wild child of bodybuilding. Now I've got the crazy guy here, I guess, although that's not true.
Yeah, well...
Hey, Mike. What about So you know you won that show, and then you tried the NPC for a little while. I know you switched over to AAU, right?
Oh, it was a while because in '82, I went to junior nationals, and Lee Haney beat me by one judge.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So then I was gonna go. I was gonna compete in the nationals, but I think I did, and I ended up placing 6th. And the open show.
Yeah, that was 80. That was 82. Yeah, Haney won that one, and
yeah, and he went on to win the nationals that year. I mean, I did go on the show, but physically got sick. From Bob Weston telling me to take another diuretic the night before, and I was already ready.
Oh.
So my body just started pulling water out of the muscle and dumping it. I got sick.
Oh, no kidding.
I got sick. I mean, I physically had to go to the hospital.
Hey, Mike, would you agree in light of that? And nothing against Bob. Bob is a genius, but you see a lot of guys. I know you're a top trainer now, but you see a lot of guys, and I always wonder about this. And we talked in a couple of other interviews. You know, you train and train and train for months on end, and you're consistent, and then all of a sudden, these guys, the week of the show, they make all these changes and get fancy, and they screw themselves up. Do you see that, or do you agree with that?
Well, absolutely. If you're ready a week before the show, you shouldn't be changing anything.
Right.
I've decided I'm no longer going to carb load. None of that. Because it's just too risky to spill. And, for next year with my guys, I'm just going to have them, up their carbs on Thursday night.
Right.
But, just keep them at about 200 grams a day.
But Mike, you hear about this crazy sodium loading and fancy. You hear guys doing that.
Well, I made a mistake of doing that and paid a big price when I did it.
Yeah, there you go.
My body said, they suggested, osmosis would occur if I drank 2 gallons of water. Well, I drank the 2 gallons of water, and there was no osmosis that ever happened.
Oh, geez.
Because you have to take into consideration the drugs you're on.
Right.
And the retention of fluid due to that. And, it's too risky. I blew up like a pig.
Wow.
And, it's kind of crazy. That was...
But, Mike, let me ask you, we'll jump ahead a little. What was your best shape? Was your best shape on stage ever the 87 USA Championships when you were the overall winner?
No, my best condition was 88 Olympia.
Oh, okay, the next year.
6th place, and wow, was I in shape. And my body weight, I weighed in at 204. I got on stage at 209 at the night show. And that's the most depth of any Mr. Olympia you'll ever watch. So it's depth of good athletes.
I'll read the I'll read the list, Mike. I have it right in front of me. 1st through 10: Lee Haney, Rich Gaspari, Barry DeMay, Lee Labrada, Gary Stridham. You in 6th place: Brian Buchanan, Samir Banu, Ron Love, Bob Paris. And then you even got Sean Ray in there, Mike Ashley, Al Beckles, Robbie Robinson. Yeah, pretty much any of those guys I just mentioned. Any of those guys right there. There were several other Mr. Olympia. Any of those guys could have won Mr. Olympia at any time.
Oh, are you kidding? It was an awesome crew that year, but...
Hey, Mike, why don't we see that depth now?
Well, because drugs have ruined the fucking sport. Sorry to swear, but I'm sorry. This is, the drugs have totally destroyed. They look like shit.
Well, Mike, in fairness, I know you'll agree, there were drugs back in our day, and there's drugs now, but what's the difference? Different drugs, too many drugs?
Higher dosages and more abuse.
Right.
They're convincing people that all you got to do is take drugs, not train hard, or diet, and some of these morons are taking DMP, which cooks your brain.
Oh my God. Hey, Mike, I'll tell you a quick conversation I had, and I'm sure you've experienced this many times. Back in '98, I was in California. I was training with Robbie Robinson in Gold's Venice, and one of the top pros at the time approached us in the middle of sets, and I won't mention who, it doesn't matter, top guy, and the guy was at the Olympia was 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks away. And Robbie looked at the guy and he says, man, what's up? Are you going in the show? Are you going in the Olympia? Because the guy was fat. He didn't look like he was training. And he just looked at Robbie and says, man, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the chemicals. And, I kind of just brushed it off. But, I think you're right with what you say, the dependence on chemicals. And I really don't think, I'm taking myself, this doesn't include me, but I don't think the guys train as hard now as they did back in your day.
Are you kidding? Nobody's even close. The only 2 guys you got that are hardcore are Johnny Jackson and Branch Warren. Those 2 guys are the only hardcore bodybuilding in this contemporary time. They're paying a price too with injuries. They're killing themselves.
Right.
Branch is banged up, Johnny's banged up, but they keep going, so.
Yeah.
Branch don't give up. Branch just got very pissed,
Yeah, that's an...
He's going hard down.
That element, Mike, that you have, Branch has, maybe Johnny Jackson, of not giving up, I think that's encoded in your genes, man. You either have that or you don't, Oh,
you're absolutely right. You're born to be a champion, and, and I'm a good athlete. It's not just a bodybuilder. There's a big, huge difference.
Right.
Athletes, I do well in everything I ever approach. I honestly could have been pro football player. I was a beast.
Yeah, you were saying that. Yeah, you were known. You had a big name up here for that back, years ago, of course.
Oh,
But tell me, just go a little into, because I want to talk more about the training and what you're doing now. But just tell us how. I want to hear how. I remember in our last interview how you had to come back and you had to re-qualify to become an IFBB pro. Didn't you have to win the nationals or the USA championships?
Yeah. Listen, I won the same Mr. Universe that everybody else won. Arnold, Lou, Bill Pearl, Rich Park, all the best of the best have won the universe.
The NABA.
Yes. And now, that's my most prestigious trophy to me.
Right.
Because that links me with all the greats.
Absolutely.
And, it's a little depressing.
That's Zane, Arnold, Draper, Pearl, Reg Park, everybody. The biggest, believe it or not, that was still bigger than the Mr. Olympia when the Mr. Olympia was 5 years old. That was still the number one title in the world to win.
Listen, honestly, I use the Mr. Universe title over my USA title as far as most prestigious awards I think I have. And,
Hey, Mike, when you won that, just out of curiosity, the Universe in '84, was Oscar Heidenstam still running that?
Yeah, Oscar was. He was quite older.
Yeah, he was an older guy.
Sure, he's passed away, but
he is.
Keep in touch with Mr. Sweeney, who's the NABA rep for Ireland.
Nice.
And, and Eddie Robinson now is the president of
NABA
USA.
Right.
And, I never known him to be so arrogant.
Hey, Mike, before we go into that, because we're going to talk about that, let's just stick, because there's so much we can talk about. But yeah, I remember you had to compete in Florida, and the guys were kind of pissed.
In Florida.
They were pissed. They were like, "What?"
Fist fights.
Well, so tell us what happened with that. You had to go down there. They told you.
I can't tell you. At the time, I was training with a group of gals. I mean, the crew I was with I was a choir boy compared to the rest of them. So I was badasses and street tough guys.
Right.
And I'm standing on stage, and all of a sudden I look down. There's my friend sitting in the third row. Next thing you know, my friend just cracked this guy who yelled up on stage, I had no calves. And I'm looking down, and all I see is chairs flying everywhere. And my friend's taking care of this guy, but
wow.
they were angry. Backstage, everybody's like, "What are you doing?" I'm nearly getting in touch with them backstage. So I'm saying, "Listen, you're not giving me shit. They're making me do this."
Right.
Okay, why would I go into Mr. fucking Florida? I'm already teenage Mr. America. I'm already won Mr. Universe. Why the fuck would I do that?
And this was because IFBB NPC didn't recognize NABA, so they wanted you.
It was Wayne D'Amelia. Okay, he's a piece of shit. Okay, he's the one that did this to me. And look how long it took me 3 years to turn pro.
Right.
And,
well, the timeline, Mike, was you had to come back after the NABA. In '84, '86, you did the Nationals again, NPC. In '87, finally, you won the NPC USA, and so it was 3 years from '84 to '87. Then you became pro, and you did the Olympia and the Grand Prix. So yeah, they made you jump through all the hoops.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember in '87, Jeff King was supposed to compete against me. We were supposed to do battle as two AAU boys.
Really?
And Jeff never did it. But at that time, upper bodies were, that's what the thing was.
Right.
The legs were not. Now you see the guys with the legs that just don't look real.
Right.
And they look like cartoon characters.
Yeah.
That's what I look at it now, Mike.
Well, Mike, the disconnect is this. You were at your best at 204 on stage, or 209 or 204, and you looked gigantic.
209.
Yeah, 209. You were thick. And you're how tall? Are you 5'9", 5'10"?
No, 5'8.5".
All right, well, okay, so you're 5'8.5". But guys at that height now are like 270. And you're right, it's not. I applaud them for achieving that. It's a remarkable thing to achieve. But as far as being applicable to most people can't really relate to that in the cartoonish sense. I mean, do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's switching over to classic and whatever, but, you know, it'll be this, I asked him this question, which is, you know, pretty common sense thing. I said to him, so judges are no longer going to bring their athletes in to win the shows. Because that's what happens.
Right.
You know, they show up with the best people in the gym. They don't deserve to win.
Yes.
I've seen it so many times that I expect it.
Right.
You know, when I see some Judge Feely, I'm like, wow, this is like...
You know, Mike, I know of one head judge. I judge for 20 years. I'm out of that. I pretty much just work. I just go to the gym and I work from home now. But one head judge in let's just say the tri-state area. I mean, he trains dozens of people. He gets 6 to 8 to 10 of his competitors in a show that he's head judging. You're telling me there's not any bias there? I mean, come on now.
Oh, come on. That's just bullshit.
Yeah.
That should never happen, ever.
Well, it does. You and I both know it, you know. Hey, Mike.
Mike, different shit, different fucking era.
Yeah, I know.
Same shit, different era.
That's absolutely correct. It never ends. Hey, Mike, so I'm looking at us. In 1988, you did a spate of Grand Prix shows. It looks like you were top 5 in most of them, 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Yeah, I was top 5 in, I think, 8 or 9 shows.
Yeah, you did really well. World Pro Championships that year, you got 4th. And the Olympia, your first shot, 6th place in the Olympia. That's fantastic. Was this around the time where Joe Weider was sitting in the audience and he literally summoned you off the stage and said, "Listen, I'll send you to Arnold's doctor to take care of your calves"? Remember telling me that?
Yeah, he had said, and the plastic surgeon physically told me, I did Arnold's calves. And, I turned it down because I got too big of a mouth, and I would have felt like a fake.
Right.
I work hard. I'm an athlete. I'm not going to do that cosmetic shit.
Right. Mike. In an industry that's bent on illusion, it's good to talk to somebody who's not. It's rare.
Well, listen, there's nothing but hard work and dedication was in my life with my family, and listen, you got to look at it this way, Mike. I took what I wanted.
Right.
If it wasn't for Jim Mannion, I would have never been a pro.
Wow.
And I always appreciate that he did that for me. But things have changed so much now.
Mike, when you're balancing your perspective between Jim Mannion and Wayne D'Amelia, what do you think between the two? One was helpful, one was not.
Yeah, Jimmy was awesome, but see, Wayne D'Amelia is doing what Lee Thompson did. He's ratting out all the shit that Santoria's done, Mannion has done. The guy in Texas, he flew to Japan, Lee Thompson, and did that huge, rant.
Right.
That he was going to rat them all out. And for what? Who knows the amount of shit he has on him.
Yeah, right.
Rafael Santoya is a piece of shit.
Is he fighting?
Fucking midget Napoleon attitude, Jesus.
Have you dealt with him recently, or is this when you were competing?
No, years ago, they had set up a tour for me in Australia.
Okay.
I had about 15 shows lined up, but when I got there, they were all canceled because I didn't go through Rafael Santoya.
Oh.
So he's a real piece of shit.
Hey, Mike, before we go there, go back to when you took 6th in the Olympia. Aside from the calf issue and Joe Weider, did Joe look at you as a guy who could carry the Olympia torch really soon? Was it like, wow?
Well, yes. If you look at the picture of me turning pro in the first story of Muscle and Fitness, I'm holding on to the Sandow and the Olympia, medallion is all across my chest. You've never seen that with every other guy, but me. And, I blew it because, my first story was Iron Man with Lonnie Keeper. I told the truth and the drugs.
Right.
So, that screwed it all up, Well, they went, we just were making sure I didn't, make a tremendous amount of money. So, because the money makes you more powerful.
Oh, there's no doubt.
But,
Hey, Mike. Even Martin Luther King said this. I'll paraphrase it because he's more eloquent than I am. But Martin Luther King said, "It's wonderful to do good things, but without money, it's very hard." It's true, isn't it?
Oh, you kidding me? Absolutely. Do you know how I learned that they were screwing me? I did about 4 exhibitions over the following year after, 88 to 89.
Okay.
And every promoter I did the exhibition with or seminar, guest posing, told me, like, "Wow, Mike, you're nothing like the way you said you are. I see you're very hard to work with."
Really?
So, yeah, so they were preventing me from making money. And once you get that word out, people see pictures of me. I'm not what I look like.
Right.
That's me training in a gym. That's not why I didn't walk around like that.
Hey, Mike, a question for you. Did you have a contract with Weider at any point?
Oh my God! This is a nightmare. Do you know that he only paid me a contract of $32,000?
What year was that, Mike?
I had to turn.
Do you remember?
1987. As soon as I turned pro.
Okay, it was It's 30.
Yeah.
Wow, it's not good.
32,000. I turned down a contract from another company for 200.
Wow.
Just to be a Weider boy, but a lot of shit went on, and like I said, they never liked my fucking documentary. But I hate it. But hey, it's my life, and it's what they did to me.
Hey, Mike, in '89, you do some Grand Prix. You're kind of in the top 10 there, and then the Olympia you take 7th, and in '90 the Olympia you take 11th. Did this push you over to Vince McMahon?
Well, the only thing that pushed me to Vince McMahon was money.
Tell.
He gave me a $400,000 contract for 2 years, and it was, it was kind of time plus something new to happen, but. He didn't do his homework, and he drug tested us.
Hey, Mike, before
Nobody wanted to see natural bodybuilders, and Gary Starr wasn't even tested. Look it up. Look at us.
That's
terrible.
I can tell you. Listen. I was down at Montanari's gym, Gold's gym. I was the unofficial chiropractor for some of the guys, and I could. I can share with you some of those stories. But let me ask you, how did McMahon approach you? And when he did you go to Joe and try to counter the offer?
Oh no, I never did that. I never did that. He said to me, train at a gym in Boca that I trained at that time. And he said, Mike, what do you think about me doing my own federation? I said, Vince, if you do contracts and pay the guys, you'll do well. But because of the problems he had with Hulk Hogan before that and all that big drug thing there,
yeah,
where they went after Hulk Hogan, he drug tested us right out of the gate. And nobody looks good except you tried him.
Right.
You could see that he was not being tested. I got into it with him about 8 months ago. He said he was drug-free. At the WBF. I ripped him a new ass.
You're talking about Gary Stridham.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He actually said he's coming to Florida to give me a beating.
Really?
I'm still waiting. I'll kill him.
Yeah.
He has no idea. He's never been in a fight in his whole life. And one thing I know about him is he beats up women and he's weird.
Hey, Mike,
why would you live in Thailand?
Yeah, I know.
Come on. We know why he's there. I'm not going to be public about it. But
Hey, Mike, would you say you're the type, you don't announce that you're giving a beating, do you? You just give it.
Never. Never. I always give people enough rope to hang themselves. And people don't realize how many people I know. They can get in touch with me. Last year, this kid, said something bad about my girl. He's in England. He think I couldn't get a hold of him. Well, I'm trying to dig a growth spot for one of the strongest guys in the world. Along with him and a guy I know here called Paul David. They're so strong. I can't even, but David went and grabbed him, straightened him out.
Wow.
So never underestimate anything with me. I have friends all over the world, and I've always done the right thing by people. You don't hear any stories of me being, a fucking asshole.
Hey, Mike. Let me ask you a question. You were with Ray Mancini for a while, and
no, I was at Vinny Paz.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vinny Paz. That's very bad of me. I'm sorry, Vinny Pazienza.
They're so much alike,
But yeah, they are. But Mike, what's the time? Was this while you were in the IFBB or the WBF, or was this after bodybuilding?
Well, this is '89.
Oh, okay.
I just had to Pad came, and we became friends. And next thing you know, for the next X amount of years, I'm a corner man. And
hey, Mike, Mike, what level did he reach in boxing? Was he a world champ?
Oh yeah, he broke his neck and came back, and in a year won a world title with the WBC.
Okay, all right, yeah, they made a movie. They made a movie out of it.
Well, the movie's about to come out this summer.
Oh.
I mean, you know, what Scorsese's doing, I mean, you know, he doesn't.
Wow.
He don't play around with movies.
No, that's high. That's high level. That's
always a hit.
High level. Yeah.
Yeah, and that young kid Miles, what's his name? He's playing Vinny. Who Miles is constantly in all these movies now.
Wow.
The kid is, you know, well, we'll see. Well, you got to see how it's kind of. I don't know if it's special effects, but you know, when he's in the ring fighting, you know.
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, I was out there.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well, no. All right. So let's go back. So you were in the WBF. That, you know, there was poor planning. It fizzled out. That was an experience. You made some money, but you did go back to the IFBB. Now, when you did you have to pay a fine, and did you feel that you were punished? Because Dave Dirth was telling me he had to pay a fine, and his placing suffered for a while.
Well, that's David's opinion, but
right.
You know, I don't know if I agree with it, because, you know, of course they're going to bring me back. Every cover magazine they got with me was making them millions. No,
Mike. Dave was saying that about himself. They fined him, and he you know, when he came back to the IFBB, he had to pay a fine, and he didn't think he was placing very well. He thought they were punishing him for leaving for the WBF, you know, the IFBB.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's correct.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine.
But you know, I leave my ego out and try to just talk sense,
right,
and tell the truth. You know, I don't. You know, I have a hard time wrapping my mind around. They call me a legend. You know,
right.
I don't think of myself that way. I just think I was a good athlete who trained hard and did like every other pro athlete in the world did.
Right.
But you know, when you're not treated like that in bodybuilding, Mike,
no,
it's never going to be right. I just don't foresee it.
Well, Mike, you know, but you came back perhaps at your biggest ever at the '94 Night of the Champions. You were what, in the 240s or something? I mean, you were gigantic.
No, I weighed 252 pounds.
252 on stage, and you took fifth.
Shredded.
Right.
Shredded.
And they didn't even look at you.
I destroyed. You know, there's one picture of me doing most muscular next to NASA, and I smoke them.
Really?
You know? But still, you know, they had to get me fit because the crowd would have they went berserk when they announced me fit, and I had to physically put my hands on, tell them to relax. Okay, it's okay.
Well, let me just read. Let me just read down the top 10 of that show. You at your biggest: Michael Francois in first, then Nasser El Sambadi, then John Sherman, Al Q. Gurley, you in fifth, Johnny Morant, Daryl Stafford, David Dirth, Henderson Thorne, and Ian Harrison. So yeah, and then also in that show was Lee Priest, Vigo, a lot of Rich Gaspari. You know, a lot of these.
What's David talking about? You know, he wasn't good enough to play top six.
Yeah, I think he was eighth there. Yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't good enough to place higher at that point. He wasn't in top condition like he, you know, a lot of guys missed their peaks. It just happened to him, but no way. He was treated fairly.
Well, as far as you're concerned, because then you went in the Olympia the same year and you didn't place, and then you were.
Well, you know what? I was burnt out, and you know, my addiction. I was self-medicating again, and you know, I wasn't diagnosed with any type of mental illness to the year 2000, and by then my career's over. And,
right.
You know, it's just my meds helped tremendously. That gave me, you know, I had serious impulse control problems. Like I would just act out without thinking.
Right.
And that.
Mike, before we talk a little bit about your years after bodybuilding competition, people just want to hear a little bit about maybe your training and your nutrition, what that was like. As far as were you very basic in your movements? I know you were very, very heavy. You went really heavy, but how about that in your nutrition as well? Is there anything special or particular?
Well, in '88, my girlfriend at that time, convinced me to do low carbs and high protein, and it got me shredded, but it was hard to do. Oh my God, that was the hardest thing I've ever done.
I remember you telling me about that.
Well, most bodybuilders self-medicating with street drugs. A lot of them are. I'm saying all are, but the drugs make you crazy and you can't help but not self-medicate and take away those bad feelings.
Right.
But that's all childhood shit, and whatever's happened to you as a kid, it rolls over into your adult life and how you deal with stimulus, outside stimulus, how it affects you.
Right.
And how you respond to it. And mine was always crazy explosive, but I'm medicated now, feel good. But
good.
Hey, I have no regrets. If I had to do it over again, I'd do it the same way.
That's fantastic. Well, you've had a very, you did what you wanted to do. You did what you set out to do. Became one of the top bodybuilders ever, you had your place amongst the best in the world as far as the professional level went for a long, long time. But bring us up to speed. You did own a gym. You were doing well. I know there was something that happened in Europe. You were out there. You were doing a tour, and your sister passed away.
Yeah, that was in '89, and I was doing a tour in Germany, about to make a ton of money. I just did a 6-week tour, and England made $40,000 cash.
Wow.
And then they had 20 exhibitions set up for me.
Hey, Mike. Let me ask you. Since you mentioned that, the people in Europe, such as along that tour, the countries that covered, what was their attitude towards bodybuilding versus here? Is there a greater respect for bodybuilding as an endeavor?
God, it's not even close, Rich. Mike, we're talking about, shit, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
What was the question?
Well, no, as far as people's attitudes towards bodybuilding.
Oh my God, the fans over there are unreal.
Really?
I go over there and do a seminar. I get 1,000 to 2,000 people. You talk about being overwhelmed when you get there.
Wow.
Walk in and talk to people.
Right.
Overwhelming. I mean, Europe is the place to be. They're just, Americans are just they're spoiled.
Yeah.
It's just used to seeing, professional athletes.
Right.
Physically.
Right.
I mean, especially here in Florida. I mean, shit. It's so different.
Well, the attitude here seems to be, what have you done for me lately? They're always looking. Nothing's ever good enough. Nothing's ever big enough. Nothing's ever fast enough. Especially with the kids now. The respect's not there. For those who came before them.
And these kids are listening to these guys talking about these mega doses.
Oh yeah.
Dosages.
What do you think? What do you think? A couple of those YouTube guys that are prominent now, pushing all that stuff. You probably know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, that 5% group. I mean, he's not being responsible.
No.
He just isn't. And, I basically told him that, and I'm friends with Rich. He's not a bad guy.
Right. No, not at all. No.
Just doesn't realize how much power he has over these teenagers, and they're gonna hurt themselves bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't hear any longer about kids on steroids and getting killed, or killing their girlfriend, or getting in a car accident because they drink alcohol with it. These are major problems.
Right.
That we're seeing now, and I feel terrible. I mean, parents need to know what to look for. Your kid gains 20 pounds in 6 weeks, and all of a sudden has acne. And there are signs you can see right out of the gate.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why,
Hey, Mike.
documentary is so important.
Mike. Speaking of that, let's op in this. If you had a son, would you encourage him to go into bodybuilding, competitive bodybuilding?
No.
Why not?
I wouldn't, because the drugs have destroyed it already.
Right.
I mean, I would never allow my kid to do high dosages. Please.
Yeah.
High dosages and, all of what's going on. Everything's pretty much on the wall. You're looking at it,
Yeah. Are your feelings any different since testosterone or anabolic steroids are largely based on testosterone compounds? What are your feelings on women doing the anabolic steroids versus men?
Please. That's just crazy, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, these women are looking like, we just looked at some physique shots of the woman who won that.
Right.
This past Olympia, and she's, oh my God.
Yeah.
Come on, if you put your hand over their face,
yeah.
I swear to God, that's a middleweight man.
Well, Mike, I won my best. I won a state title, the Mr. Connecticut, about 20 years ago. So I was okay. But me at my best as a male, I couldn't stand up to a lot of these women, and I've got to tread gingerly in my writing because I'm just presenting information, and people get really upset. They say, "Well, I work hard," or "It's my right," or I just.
Okay, so if I was to take estrogen, I'm going to work very hard at becoming a woman. Simple analogy.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, I know. You know what it comes down to, Mike. You got to ask yourself, why do you do what you do? And I don't think enough people ask themselves that because.
Well, you know what? Like, I was fortunate. I trained 5 years naturally.
Okay.
And, my dad threatened all the drug dealers in the gym. You ever go near my chair with that shit, I'll tell you.
He threatened the drug dealers, did he? That's good.
Oh, yeah. He just basically, everyone that was in the gym, he just saw them all and said, don't ever go near my chair with this shit.
Right.
So, I'll give you a beating, but... my dad was old school, and I'm old school, and I believe in hard work over drugs.
Right.
And of course, it's hot, you realize it's, number one is proper nutrition. Number two is, hardcore training, and number three is rest and recovery.
Right.
That's how I live my life. That's how my clients train now.
Right.
They're having, they go on those dosages, but my guys are beating guys now.
Hey, Mike, let me ask you this. We'll go back to the guys who train in a second, but let's do a little paradox here. Now versus back in Arnold's day, and you're in my day. Arnold, Frank Zane, Robbie Robinson, Bill Grant, all those guys, they would gain weight up to a show and maybe do a cycle. They do like maybe a 3 or 4 month cycle before the show.
Oh, yeah. Remember, Arnold would say he'd do 100 days before the show.
Right.
If you look at the comeback, the comeback was terrible because he was basically just shooting for a corner of the Barbarian and just went in at whatever he looked like.
Right.
And, he shouldn't have won that. Come on.
No, not at all. 1980, no.
The biggest travesty, come on. What? Oh, my God, Franco crumbled the fallen legs and went with a book and fucking destroyed his leg.
Hey, Mike, I got to tell you, Franco... If you only have half a body, he should have been last. He should have been in back of Jorma Rady, who came in last in that show. Franco should have been last. He only had half a body. I mean, I think the discussion ends right there.
Oh, of course. Come on. You're seeing politics at its fucking most.
Oh, that's a whole other.
You're seeing how much power Arnold has to overpower the leaders.
Mm-hmm. Well, going back to that for a second, Mike, what's it say to you where back then the guys would, and even maybe with you gain weight going up to a show. Now these guys bulk up by, 50 or 60 pounds and they've got to they got to rapidly lose weight leading up to a show. I mean, how damn...
You know what? Listen, I got to be honest, I had to do that too because in the mild season I trained heavier and just ate.
Right.
And of course my body weight went up, but I used to say, George, I knew that they made me feel bad.
Right.
And, I just, like I said, I wish I was diagnosed and I knew about mental illness then because I would have been Mr. Olympia.
Yeah. You could have.
Who can train around with me? Only me.
No, yeah, you could have. I mean, you had the goods, and You know, you gave
The writing was on the wall.
yeah.
We didn't lie. He did exactly for me what he wanted to do with Arnold. You know,
Right.
he just basically told me he was going to publicize the shit out of me. And don't forget, this was so bizarre. I walked in the gym, you know, probably 2 weeks after I won the USA, and you know, I did go to Detroit and compete in a pro show and took fourth. And I remember calling my dad, like, oh my God, Dad, I just beat Tom Platz.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it was just exciting.
Yeah, that's surreal. Hey, Mike, what do you think about, speaking of the weight gain, what do you think about all these big guts now and Arnold making a decree where, he says that's a totally different subject. You know, because they are taking, you know, growth hormone and insulin together. That's why they're getting the organ growth so massively. Right.
But I don't know if they're using EPO.
Right.
In 1994, I used EPO, I told you.
Right.
EPO,
right. Yep.
and I used their Genotropin, and I exploded in, I think, 20 pounds in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Tissue. It was mind-blowing, you know, but it was so strong it scared me, because I came to a point I had to train light, because, you know, my tendons and ligaments were getting so much stronger than the muscle, and the muscles at the insertions felt like they were going to tear. So it was the first time I had a really bad tummy recovery for a show about a month out.
Wow.
It was too powerful, Mike.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if they're using it now, you know. I'm assuming they all know about this drug and they're not using it, because
Mike,
I get on stage at 215 and I'm 252 cut.
That's unreal.
Oh, it was scary.
Hey, Mike, do you see it ever going back to a classic look?
Well, I don't know. Like, you know, right now, you know, I'm dealing with global bodybuilding and, you know, what they're trying to do, and, you know, today we seen that, you know, one of a competitor and a promoter of the show did all this work, and basically he resigned, you know, and that just pissed me off.
Wow.
And it's pissed, you know, Rich Politano was my partner in my show in Boston.
Yeah, Rich is a good guy.
Okay. Well, you need to interview him. He's a smart guy.
Oh, yeah, Rich is great.
He's there, but listen, he's diplomatic, unlike me. I have no diplomacy.
It's okay.
What you call there's really no filter on me, because you ask me a question, I'm just going to tell you the truth.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, I was brought up like that by my mom, especially my mom. Oh, my God. Growing up, if I ever lied and I stealed someone's food, that was top on her list.
Wow.
But no, I was a good kid growing up. You know?
Yeah. Hey, Mike. Let me ask you. And we're going to go into the GBO and some other stuff in a minute. Overall, Joe Weider, good for bodybuilding?
Well, he did what he said he was going to do with me. He just didn't pay me. But come on, I've got them. The only guy that has, I think, maybe a couple covers more than me is Arnold. You know, I've been on about 100 covers.
Wow.
And yeah, me and Eddie Robinson are the most publicized bodybuilders.
Wow.
Spots, covers, and all that.
Mike, speaking of which, I'm looking at one of them now because I've got I got a site up here, Muscle Memory, with all the old stuff. Is there anything you could tell listeners about what you did to build probably one of the top 5 backs in history?
Yeah, I mean, I was a fucking animal in the gym, Mike. You know, I would go to failure with heavy poundages and then do a couple force reps. You know, I'm using the stack on every single machine I use, and the barbells and dumbbells are very heavy weight. I mean, there's a back workout on YouTube about me, and you see me doing front pull downs with ease of 300 on the stack pull downs. I'm doing with ease 300 pounds on the cable row. You know, I'm doing 150 pound dumbbell pullovers like it's nothing.
Wow.
I mean, listen, I took advantage of my genetics. I sit back and just train like a pussy and not push myself. I mean, that was my moniker for my career, and that's never changed. You know, I mean, now obviously I can't train like a one-roll, but I am training, and everything with my clients is old school, Mike.
Well, I wanted to get into that as far as the guys you train now. I was talking to, as I mentioned, Bill Grant, and Bill's going to be 70 soon, so he's been around the block. But
he's a great guy.
Bill's fantastic. He's still in great shape. But he was telling me, he trains people, and he really has them, like the younger guys. He has them do bench press, squat, chin up, and pull over, and that's it. Very, very, very basic. He I don't know if you agree, but he says the young guys, they get way too fancy with all the detail exercises and all this crazy stuff, and it's just not necessary. Would you agree? Basics.
Listen, no, you need a lot more than what he's saying. The basics.
Okay.
You need to be isolating at that point.
Okay.
Back work, I do by itself. Chest and shoulders, I do by itself. Legs, I do by itself. And arms, I do by themselves.
Okay.
So it's a 4-day schedule, but I'm also doing 5 of specific training that I learned from Fred Hatfield.
Right, Fred.
Many years ago. And, light and heavy weeks are hard. I mean, my clients always call when it's like light weeks. They like the heavy weeks because it's, not as painful. But when they do have to do 20 reps a set, they call and bitch at me.
Wow.
And I just tell them, listen, shut up. I did this. They think I'm going to feel bad for them, but I don't, because I give voice to myself. And also, I'm just happy they follow my guidelines, and I do get the serious guys. I'm getting more now. I'm about to start working with Ed Hall.
Okay.
Who was, do you remember Ed? Jesus, Quadzilla.
Oh, yeah.
Other guy.
Yeah.
That's an animal, and, I'm going to be helping him.
Hey, Mike.
I am getting serious athletes and hardcore guys.
So you are. So you are getting. You're training regular people, bodybuilders, male and female.
Oh yeah. I do weight loss too. I got a client, Randy Schiff, who's going to I'm pretty sure he's going to win the Masters this year. 61 years old and just unreal.
Wow.
But to make a long story short, I am working with his wife and daughter now.
Hey, Mike, when you get somebody who's 31 and you get someone who's 61, is the approach the same?
Yeah, it's adjustments of poundages when they train. That's all. They do what they can handle at their age. They don't, I make sure that they don't exceed what they should be doing, and they just training heavy is strict reps, 8 to 10 reps, or force reps.
Hey, Mike, do you notice? Do you notice this? Do you notice, Mike, with guys who are maybe above the age of 35 or 40, they start losing it in the legs no matter what they do? Is there like a natural attrition of muscle from the leg as you get older? It seems to be.
I think there is.
Yeah.
It's easy to hold on to upper bodies, but legs become harder because, you got to think, if you've been banging legs for 15, 20 years, it's going to be much harder to reach that intensity.
Right.
They need to grow.
Yeah.
They're just older and they have to pay attention to their body. They make it complicated, Mike. This is simple philosophies.
Right.
Very simple. Stick to the basics. Train hard. Get enough rest. Don't do a limited amount of drugs.
Everybody, all the guys I talk to, all your level world champions, they all pretty much, people think world champion, you must have a secret. I don't really see that there are any. They all said what you just said, stick to the basics, get your rest, eat well.
I even put my cycles online, competitive cycle online 12 weeks out. I told everybody the truth.
Right.
I don't know much people like that. I mean, not a lot because people, there are no secrets.
Did you say? Did you just say? Are you wondering if people like the truth? They don't like the truth.
No, they don't want to hear it. But,
No.
My life, I'll talk whatever the fuck I want to talk
Well, yeah, Mike.
I'm not going to put me through fucking hell.
Mike. Propagating or revealing the truth is the great isolator. The more you do it, the more alone you become.
Well, I don't mind that, Mike.
Oh no, I don't either.
This is not a popularity contest for me.
No.
This is nothing but the truth of what I did in my life, how hard I worked, family support, friend support.
Right.
You don't realize, for me, I had a team of people when I competed in the show.
Right.
I had a tremendous support structure. structure. My training partners are always drilled to, get me train as hard as I could, and I walk the walk.
Right, right.
That's all I can say about that is, and I'm seeing people do it, and my guys are going to look different than these other guys just taking drugs and training like, doing this volume set shit with lightweight.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, that's not training.
Right.
It's a friggin' joke.
Well, that's working out. It's not training. You and I both understand what the word training means, and you see very little of that now. Hey, Mike, let me ask you, just going off the cuff a little here, what do you think of CrossFit and all these different activity-based workouts you see now?
Well, my nephew does CrossFit, and he's strong and he's a beast. And, my other nephew is about to be drafted as a professional baseball player. He's a southpaw.
Oh, is that your sister? Your sister's son, right?
My sister's, yeah. He throws a over 90 mile an hour fastball.
Wow.
He's gonna whip it. He's got this. Remember Big Randy Johnson? How he had that kind of whip it type of pitch?
Oh yeah. He was
came outside from the right side and just watched the pitch just go over. And the guy can't hit it.
Well, hey, Mike, your sister, the mother of your nephew, who's going to be a pro baseball player, she's a great trainer. She's in great shape, isn't she?
Oh my God, she's got 4 certifications. She knows more than I do. I'm strictly an expert on bodybuilding, and fitness and weight loss, which is applicable by bodybuilding diets. Women cannot eat carbs, Mike. They have children, so their hormones are not set up to be doing high carbs.
You're saying women have, Mike. You're saying women have a harder time with carbs.
Yeah, they can't eat them because their hormone balance is set up so they need more fats and protein than they do the carbohydrates.
Wow. So you do notice that? That's interesting.
Yeah, the women are easy. All these gurus and self-proclaimed guys that are training women now in bikini. How simple it is to do a little low-carb diet. I mean, come on. It's very simplistic, but these guys have complicated it, and they're trying to reinvent the wheel.
Well, Mike, you listen.
I've seen guys that don't even win shows that are becoming so-called trainers.
Well, Mike, you're gonna. I know you're gonna agree with this, just based upon what you just said. And I don't like seeing this, but you do get a lot of, they want to call themselves trainers. That's fine. Maybe they are. But I do think they make things terribly complicated because they're trying to repackage something that's basic so it's easier to sell. In other words, it's complicated, but I'll show you through. You need me to help you with this, so on and so forth, when it's not. I mean, do you agree with that?
No, absolutely. Absolutely agree 100%.
Do you get any...
Listen, you know how hard it is for me just to put myself out there and get people to listen. I'm doing a YouTube video today, finally.
Okay.
And I'm gonna talk about this and what I feel about it. And, these guys are hurting people.
Right.
They're not being responsible. You're gonna see people dying more, Mike. Just come in here and you watch.
Mike,
people are dying, and it's going to keep happening, Mike.
I'm glad you're saying that because I'm going to tell you, this industry, however you want to designate it, it's a failed industry because if you look at the general public health trust, overall people get worse and worse and worse every year in this country. So, there's pockets of success in health and fitness and weight loss and bodybuilding and all that and the gym business. But overall, people get fatter, right? And they get more injured and they become, it seems like they're losing knowledge or gaining the wrong knowledge. I mean, isn't this true?
Well, listen, absolutely 100%. But 100%, I think 100% has to do with the higher dosages and the deterioration of tendons and ligaments and actually muscle,
Right.
Doing too much.
Right.
It has an adverse effect, Mike, when you go super high dosages. These people, come on, I'm seeing online they're talking about going between 2,000 and 5,000 milligrams a week just of testosterone.
Oh my God.
That's crazy. Come on, that's crazy.
It comes back to
500 milligrams a week, that was it.
Well, it comes back to my question: why? I mean, where are you getting that information as far as how that's going to give you an advantage? That's all I want to know. I mean, if you can give me something that's concrete, and it just doesn't make any sense.
I don't think there's any advantage to what they're doing. Nothing.
Hey, Mike, this is an important question right here. If you want mentioning drugs or just training or whatever,
Yeah.
how big of a role does genetics truly play? Because some guys don't need a lot and they respond. Other guys will do a ton and they don't respond. I mean, genetics.
Well, yeah, that's your genetic predisposition that you're born with. I was lucky to figure out what I was good at.
Right.
But there's a lot of trial and error involved when you're trying to be a champion.
Of course.
There's no set design of drugs or anything else. But I do think there's a set design for training hard, making that muscle tissue and repairing it and getting bigger.
I'll mention two.
That's the only way I know how to do it.
Mike, I'll mention two things to you here right now. One of which being, becoming a champion. I think becoming a champion in anything, as far as on a world level, is probably one of the hardest things in the world to do. To become you were at one time top 10 in the world. Not everybody can do that, no matter how hard you work. It's number one. Number two, what are your feelings on back when you and I were competing, and maybe even before that in the 80s and 70s? Maybe they'd give out 5 IFBB Pro cards per year. What do you think about now where over 300 are given out?
Listen, they give them out like chicklets. These guys will never become legends because of this. Okay? We're only seeing a few guys becoming legendary out of the sports. Probably Keith, Kai Green.
Right.
This new kid, Justin Compton, is going to shake shit up.
Right.
Poof. He's a big guy.
Right.
But, you watch Kai Green train and Justin, they train very hard.
Right.
I mean, Phil just doesn't push the heavy weight, but he trains with intensity.
Hey, Mike, did I tell you my mother is an IFBB Pro?
No way.
No, I'm lying.
I wouldn't be surprised that much.
That's why I said it, right.
Well, I'm not surprised, but watching it happen all the time.
What's that?
Well, watching it go on all the time.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, listen, all I'm saying is, what does it mean? What does that mean? If everybody can do it, if everybody's a pro, then really nobody's a pro,
Oh, absolutely, because they've lowered the standards.
Right.
Just about, anybody, they're allowing everybody to turn pro, which I don't understand the philosophy for them to do this. I don't see how it's helping. Because I went to Arnold Classic 2 years ago, and I'm watching these new pros walk around, and a lot of them are very unapproachable.
Really?
Caught the attitude, but the old school guys are still the same.
Yeah.
They're very approachable. I mean, come on, Lee Haney is the best that we've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody better?
Nice guy.
Jeremy, I'm just so impressed with him. He's a pastor, and last year I seen him, and he made such a point to pull me over to his booth to introduce me to his son. That was like an honor.
Wow.
Remember I told you about Mike when he said to his son, "This is Mike."
Wow.
So I got to tell you, the biggest compliment I ever got. He had just won the 4th Olympia. And, we're doing photo sessions in Golds and Venice, and, I said, Lee, I'd like to grab a workout with you sometime. Could we do that? He looked at me with his southern drawl. He says, Mike, I ain't training with you, you're crazy. Probably the biggest compliment I could ever get from Mr. Olympia, so that was...
Wow.
He's my favorite bodybuilder. I'm a fan.
Well, it's sad. Mike Katz is a really great friend of mine up here in Connecticut, and he's of that cloth as well. Probably, I'd say him, Haney, nicest guys I've ever met in bodybuilding.
Hell yes.
You know that. And it's sad.
I love Mike. I've been online back and forth with Mike and his son.
Oh yeah, Mike's fantastic.
They have two grandchildren now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The sad thing is, I've heard guys go to the Arnold Classic and the Olympia, and at the Expo, you got tables like Ed Corney sitting there, and some of the old school guys, and there's hardly anybody at their table, and they're crowding around these tables of these guys who are wouldn't even give you the time of day. They're talking to the wrong people, I think.
Well, of course. I mean, I went to Arnold 2 years ago, and I'm so surprised at how bad they, were unapproachable and not fan friendly.
Yeah. Well,
I'm like, I've never turned down an autograph or a picture with anybody, ever.
No. Why would you?
They don't get it.
Right.
It's such an honor for me to do that. And that's where they're missing becoming legends, or people really remembering them.
Well,
you're not going to, they're just being turned off when they approach these new pros, and they, blow them off.
Yeah.
I mean, they're ruining their own, legacies, which they're not going to have any anyways.
A quick story for you. Maybe 10 or 12 years ago, we had it wasn't a pro show, it was Junior Nationals up here, and there was a big-time guest poser here, IFBB guest poser, and a big top-name guy, and he was in the music industry, or he was trying to get into it, and I had a friend with me who used to play with Sly and the Family Stone, and he's a friend of mine, he's from here, no names necessary, but, he wanted to come to the show, and he wanted to meet this guest poser, who was also interested in being in the music industry. Now, my friend has inroads in the music industry, direct, big-time inroads, and, we went up to meet this guy, and he barely, it was like he could barely even look at us or talk to us, and I didn't say a word. We shook his hand, that was it. But because he was so he was such a social bore, he probably or potentially lost out on an opportunity for his so-called burgeoning music career. And this is a type of, listen, always be nice. Like Patrick Swayze said in Roadhouse, he said,
I know what you're talking about, Jay Cutler.
No, it's not Jay, but I won't mention who. It's before Jay. But listen, Mike, you were a bouncer for a long time, and you know what Patrick Swayze said in Roadhouse. He said, "Always be nice until it's no longer time to be nice." And you're always nice. So this guy, this bodybuilder who, listen, it's hard enough being in this industry and gaining acceptance, and it's too small to behave that way. And I'm just going to say it. Some of these guys are so goddamn stupid, they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing.
Of course, they have no, talk about zero personalities, dude.
Well, that too.
It's horrendous.
Right. Well, Mike, a good question is this. Okay, you've got this armor of muscle, this coat of muscle on your body. You've developed this enormous physique. All I say is this: what else do you have other than that? Because you need more than that. Isn't it true?
Yeah, you have to have the whole package.
Right.
You have to be able to interview well and tell the truth. You have to be willing to always be with the fans, always, giving them what they want.
Right.
I mean, the perfect example, when I did my posing routines, dude, I spent $1,000 on my music.
Wow.
I would spend a long time in the posing room with Vic Valente, and my routines are awesome. They're right to the beat, and I'm actually giving energy. The problem you have with these guys that are posing, they don't give any emotion to the audience.
No.
Because they give nothing. Okay, they expect in return that the fans are supposed to clap and go wild over you, and you know what? It's the exact opposite. They don't. Oh God, they don't give a shit.
How about this popping and locking and not holding poses, and what's that all? I mean, what do you think? I mean, it makes it hard to really discern what they're trying to present on stage.
Well, you're seeing it as freaking boring, and the only guy who's entertaining and wants to entertain, gives all his energy is Kai Green. I've never seen a better performer.
Really?
In the history of the sport. Oh God, this guy has the things he does at the body weight and the size he is. The guy does a complete split. I mean, how do you do that with a 36-inch quad?
I actually had one of those in college. I had one of those apparatus that it helps you do a split, because I always wanted to do a split on stage, and I wasn't a big guy either, and I could never do it. So yeah, I got to give.
I took Taekwondo from Billy Blanks, and that machine, that Superfoot Wallace, came out with a stretch machine.
Wow.
If you remember.
I do. Yeah.
And then people copied it, but he was the original, and oh my God, it was so painful trying to get to that level. I mean, I was able to do kind of a cheerleader split, but the other one was just sitting and stretching all the way. Fuck.
Hey, Mike.
The most painful shit I ever dealt with.
I got something fun for us to do for a minute here. I've read through the Olympia list of your contemporaries that you competed with, and I'm going to read off about 6 or 7 names. And with each name, give me like a sentence of what comes to mind for each guy. Okay?
Okay.
Are you ready? So we'll start with Robbie Robinson.
Legend.
Okay, Samir Banu.
That's another legend.
Lee Labrada.
Very artistic man.
Lee Haney.
Overall, the best has ever been in bodybuilding.
Really? Better than Arnold?
Yep.
Best Mr. Olympia.
It is, absolutely.
No, I hear you. No, I'm just, I like to hear it. It's interesting.
Well, look at the depth of competition that Lee Haney has competed against.
Right.
Arnold never did that.
That's true.
Come on.
No, you're right. That's that should be considered. You're right. I mean, Arnold won 2 Olympias uncontested, I believe. So
Don't get me wrong. 76, he blew everybody away.
Oh, 74, Arnold.
Well, 74, 75, and 76, I think.
Yeah. Well, no, he was done
Remember, he shot pumping iron in 76.
Well, no. Pumping iron was 75. He was retired. Franco won in 76.
Okay.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. You're right. He was fantastic. I thought 74. That version of his body, probably best in human history for that one day. Anyway. Yes. Well, here's another name for you.
His upper body, his legs were crap.
Yeah, that's true. But wouldn't you say that everybody, the legs were not really concentrated on back then as much?
No, it was all about the upper bodies.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you remember Calvin Staflack.
Oh, okay, Scalic, of course, yeah.
Oh my God, he sued Weider and made $1 million.
I know.
Successfully.
Yeah.
So, I'm the type of guy that too, I will go after people.
Well, he was. I actually interviewed Jack Neary, who was one of Weider's top writers, and he told me that whole story. Let me just continue with this list, Mike. Sean Ray.
For him, I probably put superb.
What's that?
For him, I think I would call him, he's very superb.
Yes. Mike Christian.
Very, beast.
Mike Christian, yeah.
Right. Did train hard when he trained.
Bertle Fox.
He was very relaxed. Bertle Fox, freak of freaks.
Really?
Never seen anybody with an arm like that at 5'8".
Really?
And I met him. He was, oh my God, freak.
Strong?
Yeah, probably the strongest guy for that ever.
Wow.
He's doing inclines at 500 pounds.
Wow.
So, yeah, he's definitely
how about Bob Paris?
Probably the most artistic bodybuilder ever. And classy.
Yeah. Well, I end with him because, you mentioned, we were talking about how legs were not really worked on in the 70s, and Paris had the whole package, but now you come back to now. What do you think about this board shorts division where they wear the shorts and they cover up their legs? I mean, what's that all about?
I don't like it. I personally go to them, and it's just the way they have to stand and, promote. Their bodies is just a little too girlish for me.
Yeah. Well, do you think they're trying to attract more people? It's easier to do so if you don't have to have good legs to compete.
Listen, they're going mainstream with fitness and bikini and figure. Bodybuilding's dying.
Yeah.
Don't kid yourself. In 5 years, there's not going to be a Mr. Olympia, I don't think.
Mike, I'm glad you said that because I agree with you, and I will tell you this now. Somebody's comparing, Phil Heath with Arnold. I go, you can't do that. And they go, what do you mean? I go, you can't compare Phil Heath to Arnold. And the guy's like, why? I said, because back then we had bodybuilding. This is not bodybuilding anymore.
Oh, no, this is something else.
Right, I can't even tell you what it is. I have no idea what it is.
Their goal is bodybuilding's going to go, and fitness that's the only way they go mainstream.
Right.
We went mainstream in my era because, you know what, we were basically in condition, and, we had good-looking guys.
Right.
I mean, come on, I don't know, if you don't have that many good-looking guys as we have.
Hey, Mike.
Parish back in May, we got brought on, this list goes on and on.
Bodybuilding was truly gripped by the public consciousness in a positive way from approximately 1977 when pumping iron came out to the mid to late 80s. It was great, but then when the drug issue became more, the public became more cognizant of the level of drugs involved. Everything's been in reverse since then. And
well, Dorian was great, but Dorian took it to a whole new level.
Right.
And with drugs, but he was a beast and an animal in the gym, so.
Right.
It is what it is with that.
Hey, Mike, so at this point now, you're training people, and tell me about you're getting involved with the GBO. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I obviously signed with them because,
Well, what is Mike? For the people that don't know, what is the GBO all about?
Supposedly, it's all about treating athletes fair, especially in judging, making sure the right person wins. When you have somebody like me being a judge, nothing's going to occur with me.
Right.
Nobody's going to tell me who I should place or what I should do, and if I see other judges not doing correct, I'm going to blast them.
Right.
But with some, I don't know what's happening with it. I mean, we seem to have had a slight problem today with one of the promoters and athletes resigning because he wasn't, he's promised things that's been happening. Well, my thing is I'm just waiting. Rich is very diplomatic more than me, but as soon as he gives me the word, I'm going to tell him this. If you don't do a union, I'm done.
Right.
I'm not going through this again. I will not. I tried to get a union going when I was younger, my era, and these guys are pussies.
Yeah.
They didn't know, and he didn't have to get involved with the union at that point. But he probably needed to be for it to happen. But it needs to happen now, Mike. I don't give a shit what they say.
Yeah.
I've been going back and forth with Rich today in the scenario, and he's just gonna write it out and tell me when I should stop.
Well, I think it's.
Don't you think that's the only thing we need?
Oh yeah, I think something has to change. Bodybuilding. If you look at bodybuilding, I compare it to the level of legitimacy or organization. It's on par with boxing, which is not terribly respected for its above boardness, if you know what I mean.
Well, of course, it's extreme politics at the highest level with boxing.
Right.
Come on.
Well, if you
I don't think they're exactly honest.
No, and the thing is, back in the day, at least with the IFBB, I know with Ben Weider being the president in perpetuity, meaning there were never any elections. There were elections, but I don't even think anybody ever ran.
No.
I don't think anybody ran against him.
Well, he was controlling everything along with his brother Joe, and Arnold just took over and became more powerful than the both of them.
Right. I think Arnold is very important right now going forward to save bodybuilding, if it could be saved at all.
Yeah, well, this classic physique is a good idea, but again, there has to be zero politics, and the right guy has to win.
Right.
They will fail if that doesn't happen.
I agree. Hey, speaking of Arnold, can you touch upon any dealings you've had with Arnold over the years, Mike? Because we're winding down here. I'm almost at my limit for time.
Well, I did a voice with him
You had words with him?
You know? Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Listen, this story is just, I'll tell you. Arnold calls me up Arnold's secretary called me at 7 o'clock in the morning and said, Arnold would like to get some footage of you and Robbie Robinson training. So I said, okay. So, we get to World's End and we're, doing arm workout. And I'm looking in the mirror and Arnold's looking at me with bad intentions. I looked at Robbie and said, Robbie, is he doing what I think he's doing? Robbie said, yeah, he is. So I put the weight down and I said, basically I walked over and said, not today, old man.
Really?
I basically told him I'll take him outside and beat him up, but come on. And then another time, was at a banquet for the Arnold Classic when they drug tested. I remember Sean Ray won, and then he failed a drug test, so Michael Ashley ended up winning the show. And, I'm at the banquet. I look like an animal. I got black coat with pants on, long black coat with a trench coat, I got a ponytail and big blue earrings, so I'm not the norm. And I remember seeing out the corner of my eye, he was walking down the middle of the banquet hall, which is separated, a big walkway. And I'm looking at the corner and I see all these people following like he's the Pied Piper,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I feel his hand on my shoulder. And I looked up at him and he says, Mike, why didn't you train? You're beating my show. I said, because I don't you like an asshole, you drug tested and I couldn't pass the test because of decagravelin.
Right.
And I turned away and ignored him.
Wow.
The whole table was like, what the fuck just happened? But what happened is I just told the truth to the guy who's the most powerful guy in bodybuilding, but not to me. I didn't idolize him. He's 6'4" tall.
Right.
Now there's Robbie, the mentors in case you beat it to him.
Mike, I think it comes down to everybody's the same. There's people at different levels of achievement and experience and wherewithal and whatnot. But, ultimately, yeah, I give you some respect for, you say what's on your mind and ultimately you're free that way. Like I was saying earlier, you end up, sometimes you have less people in your sphere of influence, but so be it.
I'm the exact opposite. Like, I have fans all over the world still, which is pretty shocking,
Oh well, Mike, you're one of listen. I get people. I've got over 100 interviews scheduled, and you're in my top. You're my number as far as for the YouTube. You're my 7th that I'm doing, and I do them in order of. Well, again, people request certain people, and I've got a lot of requests for you. So yeah, it's true. Yeah. And,
like I said, you need to interview Rich Baltano. He's a smart guy.
Oh, Rich is coming up. Rich is. I just met Rich for the first time up in Rochester at Pete Grimkowski's America up there.
Yeah, he told me.
Yeah, he's nice, good guy, big guy.
Yeah.
Old school. He kind of reminds me of you, old school, real strong, big, thick type of guy.
Yeah. Well, that's Massachusetts. That was all of us.
Yeah. Well,
you had some monsters. Jeff King.
Oh yeah.
Richard Roy. Don't forget Victor Terra was a.
Victor Terra, Richard Roy, Rich Warfield.
Oh my God! You know he just died.
Who?
Rich Warfield.
Did he really? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Just died. Just passed in the last 2 weeks.
Wow. No kidding. Couldn't have been that old.
No, he's 2 years. I think he was 51.
Oh,
he
man.
had the OD.
Oh my God. Oh.
And
God bless him.
it's sad. I'm seeing a lot of guys die because of either drugs or from heart attacks and taking too much steroids.
Yeah. Have you seen a lot of that, Mike? Have you seen a lot of that where you could actually attribute it to the steroids?
Of course, there has to be a variable. There's no doubt in my mind.
Right.
But don't forget, all steroids are cholesterol binding. Okay, that means if you don't eat low fats or any bad fats, you're going to get sick.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. And by the time it happens, it's not subtle. It just comes on and impacts right away.
Right. Mike, Yeah, the Northeast at one time with Ronnie Magnum and Pete Leonetti and you remember these guys. I just interviewed Mike Torsha. Then you had Mike Katz, of course. A lot of the guys, Casey Kucherik, Victor Sherbinin, all these guys from up here. It was a real tough area. If you were from the Jersey, New York, Massachusetts area and throw in a little Connecticut, it was tough, hard competing in your day.
It was hardcore to the max.
Yeah, I mean, if you
more hardcore than the guys I grew up with and trained with.
Oh no.
Listen, don't forget, in those cities and states, if you didn't train hard, you got made fun of pretty much.
You got beat up.
Yeah, well, that's heaven too, but
Yeah.
I never beat anybody up that
No.
didn't have it coming to them,
Right, of course. No, I wasn't speaking in terms of you. Just oftentimes that was the reason why you trained. To at least protect yourself. But Mike, so going forward now, so you've got a good personal training business going. You got a nice girlfriend, family. Your parents are both still with us.
Yeah.
Good. And so along with the GBO, you're just going to build a training business going forward, and you live in what part?
Right. I also just got I'm about to sign a contract with a magnetic inhaler.
Okay.
That it's cutting edge. It's inhaling magnets and particles of it. And my dad did it for the first 6 days, and he noticed his blood sugar from his diabetes had dropped tremendously.
Wow.
From it, he was sleeping better and had more energy. So this is going to be cutting edge. Like I said, I'm just waiting for the training to Olympia to
Well, listen, if you have any,
and that's it's going to be wild.
If it's part of your,
it's going to help a lot of people because what it does also is it takes away symptoms of other diseases. Doesn't cure them.
Right.
It takes away the symptoms. It's the symptoms of everything when you're sick that really debilitates you. You can't do anything.
Well, Mike, it's interesting. It's interesting you say that because I'm sure you'll agree. A symptom of many problems in the body is pain, and chronic pain can wear you down so badly that it can literally change your personality. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I just spent the last 6 months, and they're trying to finally got my injections, and I agree with 100%.
Right.
So chronic pain. I know I've had chronic pain for so long, and I'm hoping that it will just help me. But I'm gonna video it all.
Great.
The first day I take it, and then every week I'm gonna do a video and post it.
Well, Mike, anything you have as far as business-wise, I'll gladly put links up on the international site and get you some traffic that way. In fact,
If you could just publicize my email.
Of course, absolutely, Mike. What we'll do after we're done with the call, I'm going to shoot you a message, and we'll get all the info like that as far as your link, your email, anything like that, and we'll post it along with the piece. And I'll let you. This will be going up probably this week, and it'll be heavily trafficked.
Great.
And I really want to thank you because you're one of I grew up. I mean, even though there's only 2-year difference in age, I mean, you were one of my measuring sticks or barometers for hard training, and you inspired me and millions of others, of course. So I just really want to thank you for your time, man. Because listen, Mike,
my pleasure. I love motivating people. That's my job.
Well, you did me, Mike, and it's great because every day I get to talk to guys like you, and it's. I love, think about this. With Facebook and the internet, you and I get hooked up just like this. 15 or 20 years ago, you wouldn't know who the hell I was, and you might. I mean, a lot of people, it would just be much harder to make connections like this. So, I really feel blessed.
The internet has given me a rebirth in my career. On a competitive level, but on a teaching level, and just having basic common sense when I talk to people. Right. Which people don't seem to use common sense.
Oh, no.
That much.
Well, common sense is not so common.
Yeah. That's a great quote.
Well, yeah, you could take it. It's I'll probably be called a hater or something because of that. But
Oh, please. That down. the harder I go.
That's your fuel.
I'm telling you, I just love that.
Here's a good one, Mike. I actually, you know how I said earlier that you were a top 10 world champion, and it's very, very hard to become the best in the world at anything. Well, recently, a young lady from England, we had a little exchange on the internet, and she ended up decreeing that in her estimation, I was the biggest piece of shit in the world. Now, I don't know if I'm going to embrace that or not, but listen, I think that's kind of an achievement. In the whole world. So again, if I'm called a hater or something, I'm like, listen, I've already heard all that, and it's just you have your truth, I have my truth. A certain truth is not necessarily universal. So just because my truth is not your truth, I'm not going to come down on you, and vice versa. But people do that all the time. They do it all the time, and like you were saying, you don't care. How could you let that faze you?
Oh. Listen, there are so many computer warriors now that it's like laughable. I mean, I'm seeing all the time, and and after I'm on a post and they're talking crap, I blast them. I don't care. Okay, first off, tell me who you are, what your achievements and accolades have been, and I'll give you respect.
Right.
Please show a picture of yourself. And when I get into it, I basically say, you know what, you won't show a picture of yourself because it'll be so laughable.
Yeah.
You guys are talking all this garbage, but put up or shut up.
Mike, I liken it too. I like to say most people are unwilling to get down to their own bare bones and find out inside what they're really all about. And it's scary and hard. What's that?
You can't look at somebody to make you a champion.
No.
That.
Right.
And unfortunately, these so-called gurus are a bunch of used car salesmen.
Too many of them.
Convincing people to do this and let me train you to do that. And come on, bikini girls are taking drugs, Mike.
Oh, I know that.
Are you fucking kidding?
Oh, yeah. Bikini, I know that.
So out of control. Oh, my God.
I still have, what, Mike, in closing, America's great. I still have hope for the world. The world is what you make of it. When I was younger, I was more idealistic. I wanted to save the world. Now I'm just trying. I'm trying to create a change in my sphere of influence, which is widening somewhat. But for now, it's kind of tight. So, but that being said, with you mentioning bikini girls and drugs and this and that and people not being respectful and hiding behind the keyboard, a lot of the world is in the friggin' toilet.
Well, we're dealing with something so much more serious than anything in our lifetime is, this ISIS thing.
Oh, forget about it.
Come on, Mike, they bragged about the 5 states where they have soldiers there.
Oh, yeah.
72, there are 72, terrorist soldiers that are in those states.
Yep.
You would think the National Guard would be there.
Yep. Well, Mike, a lot of people
blow shit up.
Yeah, a lot of people here are asleep, and it's going to become a nightmare, man.
Well, I don't think we're totally asleep because Trump is shake shit up.
Oh, no, that's what we need.
He's going to get elected. You know why? The first thing that he said is, I'm going to go over there and blow them up.
Yes.
That's the first thing he came out of his mouth, and he's going to be the president.
Well, you know why, Mike?
Looking to be protected.
Well, I agree. People want to be safe. That's really what they want. They don't want to be looking over the shoulder. Maybe he blows them up, maybe he doesn't. But the statement he's really making is he's going to eradicate that. He's not going to play patty cake.
He's going to listen to his military, which Obama has not done.
Oh, no.
And that's why we see generals and top colonels resigning right now.
Yeah, many. That's true. You're right. Yeah.
Come on, we're not safe.
No.
I don't believe it. I don't believe we're safe right now, Mike.
No, it's sad, and I hope there's a restoration. Like I said, it's still great here. The world is what you make of it. I think guys like you and I build the country, if I may say that, and there's too many people who are just either just existing or tearing it down. We got to.
You see what he's doing now? He's taking away the Second Amendment. He wants to change gun control.
Yeah.
Every fucking person that has a home should have a gun. I don't give a shit what anybody says. He's just, it's just so sad and ridiculous.
We just have to bear down and go forward, Mike. It's just like being stuck under 500 pounds. You got to push it back up, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, listen.
You just can't give up.
No, never ever give up, Mike. Any parting words for the people?
No, I just appreciate the support I get from fans. I'm just overwhelmed all the time.
Well, you're training. Hey, Mike.
People send me stuff that I don't want to cry.
Hey, Mike, where are you located in Florida, and do you draw people from the general area for training services?
Yeah, I've got my clients in the state, and I'm in Delray Beach, Florida.
Good.
And, we're doing well. Like, we haven't done any marketing, but doing YouTube today.
Good.
Put myself out there and make myself available.
Good.
Probably be a little aggressive, but I don't care.
Well, Mike, listen. This will be a popular interview on the Dr. Dusa Iron Hour site, and we'll get a lot of traffic, and you'll get a lot of traffic towards you and people, getting a buzz going, and that's always important because we need good guys like you out there influencing others to be their best. So again, I want to thank you, man. It's been a pleasure. We'll talk again, Mike. I know we will.
Listen, thank you very much for the interview. I appreciate it.
No problem, Mike. You be well. And listen, I'll get in contact with you today through the messenger, and I'll send you some info on what we're doing here, okay?
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
All right, Miguel. Take care, pal.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.